So when oil companies go exploring, including when they use their exploration company, the 82nd Airborne, it is not, as many people have written, among the progressives, to find or bring us back oil so you can fill up your Hummer cheap. Okay? It is to find the oil and turn off the spigot. The less oil, the higher the price. Now, and that's why when people say George has screwed up, oh, he's made a mess of it. Just like he screwed up with Bring 'em On. Got reelected. He screwed up. The oil blew up. The pipelines blew up. Remember, we were going to get all this oil. Even Wolfowitz promised it in testimony before the United States Congress. Remember? Iraq will be free. Now, he didn't mean Iraq will be free like a democracy. He meant Iraq won't cost us a dime. Iraq will be free. No, you know, free ride. We can bomb them. They'll pay for the bombs with their oil. Remember? Right? You know, so, you know, it's cheap. Was he lying? I spoke to the guys that gave him the information. And they said, well, we told him something else. And by the way, as a racketeering investigator, you tell someone something and they testify and say something else under oath. That's perjury. That's perjury. That's hard time. Did Wolfowitz perjure himself? He was told one thing and he testified to something else. And my publishers are worried that they say, you know, you just write that and you're implying the guy committed perjury. No, he didn't. Paul Wolfowitz did not commit perjury. See, because his buddy in the State Department, Elliot Abrams, who was convicted, as was Ollie North, of perjury because they lied under oath. When Wolfowitz testified, check the record, he never raised his hand. He never raised his hand and said, I swear to tell the truth, so help me God. None of the Bush boys, when they talk about Iraq or oil, ever raise their hand. No perjury. No truth, no perjury. Now, less oil. But this is an old, so the deal is, Saudi Arabia sets a quota of 3 million barrels a day, that's it. That's the program. Not to get the oil. It's worse than no blood for oil. It's no oil for blood. So, wait, but this is an old story. To understand the history of this, how this happened, how this came about, it's not something new that they just came up out of Houston. It's an enforcing an old policy that goes back to the day Iraq was invented by Winston Churchill in 1920. Winston took the fields, oil fields of Kirkuk, the oil fields of Basra, and what they thought were oil fields in Baghdad, and tied them together for Anglo-Persian Corporation, now known as British Petroleum, and said, by the time he got to the bottom of his brandy bottle, you're Iraq. But they needed a king. So Britain called in Faisal. And they said, you're king of Iraq. He said, what's Iraq? He says, it has a capital in Baghdad. He says, where's Baghdad? He said, don't worry about it. So they brought in Faisal. He immediately gave the entire rights to all the oil of Iraq to a guy named Kalous Gilbankian. And Kalous then, of course, turns around as he was supposed to and sells the rights, 95% of it. That's why, to this day, still call Mr. 5%. 95% to Anglo-Persian, now British Petroleum, Standard Oil, now Exxon, James Company, Total, Royal Dutch Shell, all the big oil companies, and in the floor of a hotel room in Brussels, 1925, they spread out a big old map of the Arabian Peninsula and took a big red pen and circled Iraq and Syria. And every oil company executive signed on that red line, promising never to drill that oil. Less oil, higher the price. Okay? Oil was being discovered all over the world, and the price of oil in 25 was dropping. They promised never to drill. Now, the British Foreign Office is very nervous. You got a bunch of restless Sunni Shiite Kurds. So, Anglo-Persian British Petroleum. There's actually a memo, it's stunning to read this. A memo from an executive to the Foreign Office saying, don't worry, we're drilling in Iraq. Shallow wells in places where we are certain never to find oil. Continued on until 1964, when Iraq said enough. The contracts say you got to drill, you're faking it. There's hardly any oil coming out. We got as much oil as Saudi Arabia, almost. So they expropriated, they seized the oil fields from British Petroleum, mainly, and Exxon. The Prime Minister of Britain called up the President, John F. Kennedy. See, we talk about wars. Let's talk about the war that didn't happen. And he reminded Kennedy that, of course, under Eisenhower, when the Iranians nationalized the oil fields, that Mossadegh, the president, was removed with prejudice. Okay? And part of that plan, go back to the CIA memos, the National Archives. Part of the plan to bring in the Shah, they said, what we need to do is activate the fundamentalist Islamic religious organizations to declare that an elected democracy in Iran is un-Islamic. We need to activate the mullahs. And they did so, and that created a popular uprising and removed the democratic government of Iran. Thank God that's never come back to haunt us. But when the British Prime Minister reminded Kennedy, look what we did in Iran. We got to take care of these Iraqis. Same thing. And Kennedy said, the oil companies and the British government, British Petroleum and Exxon, have been stealing so much from the Iraqis for so many years that this is not an expropriation, this is justice. There was no war in Iraq. 1963. And then Kennedy's policy was suddenly changed. Now, the less oil, the higher the price. Did George screw up in Iraq? When Bill Clinton left office, oil was 20 bucks a barrel, cheaper than peanut butter. Today, it's $73 a barrel. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. And that's why they have to kill Hugo Chavez. I'll show you. You'll like this one. This, from inside the Department of Energy. When I showed this on BBC TV, the Department of Energy called and said, how'd you get that document? So, you remember. What it says is, it talks about Orinoco extra heavy oil resources. How much Orinoco is in Venezuela, which means it's underneath Hugo Chavez. And it shows that Venezuela has a lot of oil. 5 times as much oil as Saudi Arabia. Wow. 5 times as much oil as Saudi Arabia. Now, I showed this to President Chavez last month when I was down in Caracas. Of course, he knew this. And